So, I've been staring at my paint colors for a while and I've already decided I am not about to do what I did several years ago. So, what I know I want to do first is because I didn't mix, because I chose to do blue and yellow as a skin tone, blue and orange in replace of my skin tones back in the day. I'm actually going to use skin tone colors here just to play off of a little bit of realism for this. And then I'm actually going to go in with with the clothing part here and then give my background some play a little bit too. So first I'm going to start off with continuing with the concept of half of them being one color and half of them being another color. And I'm going to use a red oxide for one color. I'm actually going to use a raw sienna for the other side. So that should be a really nice combination to replicate like a nice skin tone color. I didn't want any colors that would mesh with. I didn't want any colors that meshed or didn't mix well with the rest of the colors that I'm doing with the garment. So I felt that it was safe to just be like, yeah, just use the skin tones. And it's crazy because I came in here and I set up everything in here so I can paint in front of you guys. And you know what I forgot? I forgot a fucking paper towel. And excuse me for cursing, but these pants absorb water, so yeah, they'll work. So what I'm gonna do first is I'm gonna do one side of the mannequins, the red oxide, and I'm gonna do the other side of the raw sienna. I also have a single mannequin back here, and I'm actually going to do the same for her. So when I paint, I like to wet my brush just a little bit, and then I like to dab a little bit into the paint. And for this, I'm painting directly out of the tube, so I'm not mixing my colors before I apply it. And that's because that's my particular style that I've adapted, being that I like to do washes between my colors, and you'll see that within my process. So when I paint, I like to paint flat with my brush, and I like to twist it at the end. That's just my style. I don't know what it is. I think it's the feminine energy in me. I always like to add a little twist to something. I don't know. That's just me. So when I paint, I like to paint in flat and then add a little twist on the end to give me that point. So for this, I'm just gonna do just this one side of her, and then I'm gonna fill in the other side of her with the other brown color, okay? So now I'm gonna move down to her down here. And you know what? Because she's already brown on this side and it's coming into here, I'm not gonna give her that much of this brown, okay? I'm gonna give her a little bit of this and then give her a lot of the other one. So I'm just gonna continue that up in here and make sure I can see that separation between it myself. So when I go in with my other color, because I probably outlined everything in black to give it a nice pop. So I want to make sure I can still see that once I'm done. Okay, so now I'm gonna move down to this other mannequin who's in the center here. And what I like about when I draw a little like a lot of crazy lines at one point. So it helps me like to figure out what shape do I want to stay in because there's a lot of lines in here, and it helps me remember like, yeah, I want this line and that line combined together, and normally that gives me my nice finesse of a shape that I like. Yes. So now I'm gonna go into this mannequin on this side right here. Her head is a little bigger than the rest of them. I kind of like that, and I gave her a longer neck. She's gonna be the one in the corner right here. She's gonna be the one. She's gonna be the one serving it up in the corner. I can foresee that already. So I don't really remember how I went with the orange and blue in the painting when it came to like small details. I'm going into the last mannequin in the back, if you can see that. Give her a nice little S, which will be a part of her head into her neck, and then give her her shoulder, that will be right here, and then give me a little bit of color there. So what I'm also going to do while I'm here is I'm actually going to go onto the other side of the mannequins and give it a nice old dark detail. So some of the mannequins don't have a right side fully, but she does. So I want to make sure I give her that little piece right there because the light brown will be on top of that. And then I want to give a little piece over there, make little random pieces, okay? And then I'm going to do their legs too. So I remember in the piece that the legs were the part that were obstructed. So I'm abstracted, I guess I would say. The word it will be is the legs were abstracted from the original, what will make it look real. So what I'm gonna do is continue that by creating like this cool false shape of lines. So once I start creating my garments over top of it, you'll have this illusion of like which leg belonged to which leg, but making sure I give it still the attitude. And I'm just giving you straight lines right now, and my brush is really dry. But I like that my brush is really dry at the bottom part down here because once I put my glazes and my washes over top of it, something like that will blend into the composition a little more. I'm gonna wet my brush a little bit now because I'm gonna go into the other side of the other mannequin here, over here. She's a lot smaller than the other mannequins, but I kind of want her to be more full out than these ones. So I'm still gonna go in my big flat brush. Well, it's not big, it's a small one, but I call it big. Don't mind me. I wanna make sure her body looks like she has an attitude. The goal with this composition was to create some tension between both of the figures in the piece by having them being like fully dressed and together and having her kind of like not dressed and off to the side. That was kind of like the goal with my piece. And I remember wanting her to have some attitude with her. Yes, come alive in the nighttime, sis. Right. So now that I've gone in with this brown, I'm actually going, that was the red oxide. So now I'm about to go in with the raw sienna. Got a whole different brush for that, but I actually think I want to go in for a smaller brush. Don't judge me. I got my little 25-piece set from Michael's because they just had a huge sale, which really inspired me to do all of these in the first place because Michael had such a huge sale going on that I just racked up on enough canvases that I can do this for the next few weeks. So please feel free to comment, share, or let me know something that you want to see me paint. You'd be surprised what I can paint. But just let me know what you want to see me do, and I'll be glad to do it for you because this is just going to be something I'm doing for myself during this time. And I really appreciate your attention, your likes, and your shares, okay? I'm thinking about doing a YouTube page, but I already have YouTube videos online, but I'm not sure how to be a YouTuber. So if you know anyone or can send me any videos on how to start something like that, I would love to do it. But for right now, I'm just gonna make videos and share them on my social media platforms. So what I have right now is the raw sienna, which I can already tell is a different consistency from the other paint that I have, even though they're the same thing, but yeah. So this one is a little different of a brown and I'm using a different brush that's just a little smaller. So I'm actually going to go back in and do the other sides of the painting, the other side of the mannequins, and try not to leave so much white area in between it. Okay. Yes, I like how that looks. I actually really like how that looks. So what my goal is to do now with this lighter brown is to actually fill in some shapes that are there and some shapes that are not really there yet, if you get what I'm saying, because they're going to have on clothes. So I'm assuming that all of them are going to have on the same bodice because my goal was to create the same bodice that is known for a ballerina. So it's like the heart shaped kind of thing. So that's what I'm going for. But what I'm also doing is being aware of once I finish the garment, there's still going to be some negative spaces in there. So what my goal is to do now is to fill in that space with this brown, along with filling in the other side. That way, once I'm done with everything, it will all, come together. So also I want to let you know that once I put in their skin tones, I'm actually going to do a wash. That way it will bring both of the skin tones together. You know what? I'm actually going to do their skin tones, and I'm actually going to do their dresses for you guys. And then I'm going to add in that wash for you, bring in some highlights and some lowlights, and then we're going to set in the background. Just to let you know what you're about to see, okay? So what I'm doing now is I'm working on the middle mannequin and adding in her raw sienna, just a little bit in there. And I don't know if you guys are really can see it, but you can slowly see the mannequins coming into play now, where the light's coming in, where the light source is for them, and how everything is going to look and work out on the end. But once I do a wash of these colors together, they'll kind of blend together in a way where you can kind of see it as a highlight and a low light. And then once I'm 100% sure I'm gonna add in just a tad bit of white onto this raw sienna, so that way it can pick up real nice. Do this here. And now with this time, as I'm actually laying down my brush flat or at an angle, and then following the shape that I'm creating and then filling it in. For my smaller shapes, my goal is to create just one clean brush stroke. So I can show you that in this space of this head right here. My goal is to be one clean brush stroke. So I'll just go round, but can't, so clean it up. Same with here. Keep it real nice with as less as brush strokes as you can, just to create that shape. Looking good. So what I would do now from this point is don't forget my legs. The goal with the legs at this point is to make sure there's always a lighter brown on the right side of a darker brown. So wherever you see a darker brown, I'm just going to add a lighter brown right beside it. So there's a little dark brown little piece. Make sure I get a nice little light brown little triangle that goes beside it. And you know what? I'm not even going to continue the light brown all the way down. Just going to make sure there's a little piece of light brown beside it, so that way it can show some slimness of that leg. I'm going to add this in here too. So now you can kind of see some form and some shape within the composition right now. So I'm actually going to go in and add a little bit of my raw sienna to my mannequin in the back. But because she's in the back, she shouldn't have but so much light to her. So you can kind of see her fully right now. But I'm just going to add a little bit of this raw sienna on her, on the top of her head. Give her a little bit of that body. And on that lightest part that will be hitting her, which will be her right side. Just to know how light works. So you can kind of see my light source where you're coming in. Even when I'm doing abstract work, I think it's important to look into light sources and stuff like that. So you can kind of see my light source coming from this side. Hence why this side of these mannequins are the raw sienna, and the other side of them being the oxide. So that's how it will create a light source. So despite the fact that it's abstract, it will have some sort of realism within the composition, so that way you can kind of feel the vibe of the space that I'm creating. So being that I did that, I'm ready for the fun part for me, which will be going in on the garments. So what I did originally for the original painting is I did a whole bunch of ballerina fits. So they were all like the fitted bodice and tutus and stuff like that. So I think with this, I want to take it a step further and do some interesting shapes and some interesting little things and some details to make this painting a little fun. So once again, Michael's had a sale, so I went and got a lot of different stuff to prepare. So I got this cute blue that I knew I was going to use this blue, and I got this other like berry color too that I know I wanted to use too. So So I'm gonna start off with the blue first because I'm like, bitch, I'm gonna use that period. Excuse my French. Oh, yes, look at that. I'm sorry, I love the color blue. So what I'm gonna do first is I'm gonna focus on my foreground. I'm gonna focus on my foreground, midground, foreground, background. Yeah, foreground, that's what I meant. So I'm actually gonna give her the standard give her a cocktail dress, honestly. That's what I'm gonna go for. I'm gonna give her a cocktail dress. Instead of the ballerina concept, I'm just gonna give her a little sweetheart top. And once again, like I said, I'm giving her the base layer now, and I'm gonna give a wash over, and then I'm gonna give in some more details, because that's where I feel like the details would be important here is the garment. So I'm gonna give her a nice little, again. I'm giving a feathered effect at the bottom of this dress to hopefully replicate that feathered look in the end part of it. So what I want to do is just make it flare out outside of the lines that I've created for it, and then create some flared brush strokes outside. So what I have is an angled brush now. You see that? Boom, that angle. So I'm using that angle to create some cool brush strokes. And then what I'll do in the end with my details with my smaller brush, once I have some layers of color over here, I will go back with the same color blue, and because it will be different, I will go back and create more of those flared kind of feels, you know what I mean? And then because my paint is actually still wet in this corner, I'm actually going to try and make it a little sharp over there. As you can see how I did that right there, right? And then once I do my washes, which will be probably one of these neutral colors, it will blend all that in so it comes off as one layer. And if you're not sure what a wash or a glaze is, a wash or a glaze is when you take a color and you dilute it down with water or a medium, depending on what kind of money spender you are, but a water. And then you would wash or glaze over your entire painting. This will make the colors harmonious in a way. So with the harmonious kind of look and a harmonious kind of feel, it will make all your colors feel like that they're on the same dimension or on the same platform. Some artists will go in after those washes, but some artists will just paint their full painting and then use the wash to kind of like, boom, set it. But I like to use washes in between my different colors because I like to paint with so many different colors that the washes kind of help me harmoniously bring them together. So I'm painting and I'm making a mistake by going over this red oxide and it's mixing with my blue. But I don't care because that will give me layers of color within this garment. So it won't just be the blue by itself, which once again, is beautiful, ain't it? Mm-hmm. Another color that I got that I really wanted to work with was this crimson, what is it? Yeah, I'm not gonna pronounce that, but yeah, that color. And I really felt it for this girl in the back right here, off to the side, who's giving me this, her. She's my favorite girl. I don't know what it is, but I feel like 20s flapper girl from her, even though I'm about to go in with such a dark color. Definitely feel like a drop waist on her. So once again, I'm gonna go with the same silhouette at the top for all the dresses, but my goal is to do something different for each dress at the bottom, and then make sure I give that detail at the end to kind of separate them from each other. But with this dress, I'm making sure I'm following the stroke of her body, which is just like filling over this area, and then she has like this drop thing right here. That's what I'm feeling. And because I'm freehanding this, most of this is just coming off the top of my head of like, oh, this is how I feel when I see her or when I feel her look. And I'm just going to give her a little bit of a body over here and then a little bit of a hip right there, okay? So what I should have did when I was going in with my mannequins is make sure that I filled in this negative space right here, but I promise you I'm going to go in and do that right before I do my wash. You know what, as a matter of fact, I might leave that as an open space and paint it later. Definitely think it's important to pay attention to your colors when you're painting this way, because I know I'm the kind of person that paints a lot of different colors and I like to mess with the different colors too. So what I'm going to do now is I'm actually going to bring in some yellow. So yellow will make this more of a primary color standpoint. So I got my red, I got my blue, I got my yellow. So for the last two in the back, I might decide to mix some colors together on that one to bring in some dynamics into the color, into the composition, but I don't want to go straight like, oh, I might do green and make it like a rainbow kind of thing. And I'm like, no, I kind of see this more being like a fashionable composition in a way. So I'm gonna do some yellow right here. And I wanna do this one yellow because her fit right here. It's just itsy teensy teeny weeny. So I'm just giving like, yes girl, just give me cute little yellow dress. Yes. Don't you see it? It's so cute, right? Like, can you just see like this little like fitted sweetheart top skater flare style dress? Yes. Dainty. Oh my god, I'm cracking myself up. So what I would do now as far as color, you know what, I'm actually going to do darker blue. I have a whole palette of colors right here. And I will show you my palette, but that would just be showing you my mess. And my room is a mess too. I promise you, everything on the other side of this camera is a hot mess. But that's besides the point. Everyone's stuck in the house anyway, so I'm not, but that's not the point. So what right now I'm going to work on this mannequin back here being blue. And then my goal I'm actually just going to give this a detail too. And because I can't really get into what's going on behind her, I'm just going to give her a full number back here. So I can give like, oh, okay girl, it's a girl back here with a gown on. That's what the goal is. I'm like, oh, okay girl, it's a girl back here with a gown. Once again, I'm doing all of this off the top of my head, so I'm hoping that once all this comes together, that it looks like a decent composition. And for right now, this is giving me my life. I love it. And then when I'm finished, I'll go back in with the details. So being that I just did that, I'm trying to think of what other color I can make this last dress in the back. Well, this red is the same as the other red I have, so I don't want to use that. So I have another red. This red is a little different. It may be a little thinner, but hopefully with the different washes that I put over top of it, I'll be able to add some different layers of color to this. So I'll add some depth to this particular one. I'm standing up now so you can kind of see where I'm getting at. And then I'm actually going to give it just a little, give her a little banding right there. once again, filling that negative space that's not there. And just assuming what's there, as you can see about the space in general. But that's me abstracting from. Once I lighten all this up and do my different layers, you'll get to see what's going on here. So I'm gonna dry this and do my wash, and I'll be right back.